Here we go. Take two.
Two seals
Cheers.
and a walrus.
All right, welcome everybody to Two Seals and a Walrus. The revamp, the relaunch, the coming back after a year on hiatus. Mm-hmm. Ben is out today because it is highly suspected that he might have the COVID.
The Rona.
Yeah. Welcome back, guys. We wanted to remind you guys to share and subscribe and stuff like that because we've pretty much figured out that because of my mind tips and tricks and stuff that I put out on social media, exploding on TikTok, that we're being shadow banned for our discussions on consciousness expansion, psychedelics, all the fun stuff that we like to delve into. So please take a moment to click subscribe, click like, drop us a comment, even if it's one word to say, hey, what's up? That type of thing, because that helps the algorithm share us out, and we are going to break our shadow ban moving forward. So we've got changes afoot going on. We've got a brand new studio. We've got a brand new producer in a producer's desk over here, and his name's Neil, and he is a Marine recon badass, so everybody in this room can kill you.
Hello.
But today we just wanted to get back into it, get back into the swing of things, knock some rust off, talk about what 2020 brought into our lives, because yes, 2020 kind of sucked for a lot of us as well. What happened in your 2020, Doug? Bunch of stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Let me bring everybody up to speed. We were moving from 2019 into 2020, and we were all excited, and Doug's family started having some medical scares. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, all right, we're going to take some time off. It was a busy time for your work. And then the COVID hit. And then we were like, fuck, we're in lockdown now. We can't get together. Whitney's got exacerbating conditions, so it's not like we wanted a whole bunch of people walking in and out of here. And so, yeah, I mean, that was about the time that your dad got the lung cancer scare, right?
Yeah, so I found out in the same week that both my parents had cancer.
Yeah.
One of my parents did not survive that week.
Yeah.
But luckily, my dad is clear now.
Excellent.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So one positive thing did happen in 2020.
That your
my dad got over cancer.
Beat cancer.
I'll take that shit.
Yeah, no shit. That's a win.
To fucking take that shit after all that.
Yeah.
My God.
That was quick, the way your mom was diagnosed and then was... Yeah. I mean, but it's awesome because I love that it's awesome in that, you know, because I always try to take positive from everything.
Yeah, my mom's death was really awesome, man.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It sucked. It's horrible.
No, I actually knew what you meant.
Yeah, but given everything that, you know, that everybody has to go, though, you know, it's great that she was only sick enough to go to the hospital for a week.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I've talked. I think I've talked to you about that.
Yeah.
And my other family too is really thankful for that too. It wasn't. You know, you can generally say this about everything, and it's always true if you want it to be. I mean, it could have been way worse. It really could have been way worse. It
could have been, yeah.
Like, holy shit, if that had gone on for a month, 2 months, 3 months, man, that would have been so hard to watch.
Yeah.
But thankfully it was as painless, I think, as it could have been.
Yeah.
You know, found out Monday, she went to the hospital Monday, found out Wednesday she had cancer, and then she died Sunday.
Yeah, that's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks. I have a friend who's actually working on some of the content that we're working to put out in the future, who came over from Tony Robbins' group, but he his father remarried, had a wife, so he watched his stepmom battle cancer for months and months and months, and her body just kind of ate itself from the inside, and it was super painful, super uncomfortable, and so he was like, you know, dealing with that whole thing over the summertime, and you know, it brought him some life lessons, which was cool, and he brought some awesome things out of that, which I'm hoping that he'll share in the future. But it was one of those things where, you know, cancer fucking sucks, and it's not always a quick end or a quick, you know,
especially with small cell cancer, which is what my mom had. I don't know if anyone survives it.
Yeah,
pretty sure no one does, and it's really rapid. But you know, dealing with that for a few months, for 6 days, it's like being tied to the train tracks. You're gonna get fucking hit by the train. That fucking thing is going to hit you, and it's gonna knock you over to the ground, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
But man, I would not want months to think about how painful it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be hit.
Right.
Just knock me down.
Yeah.
I'll work on it from there.
Right. Yeah, let me recover
Yeah.
from the left hook that you're going to give me.
Yeah.
Let's not make that left hook slow motion.
And I'd like to think too, being the person that's actually dying, that it's got to be easier. I don't know. I go back and forth on that. From the selfish Doug perspective, it's way easier. I think kind of across the board to have a shorter amount of time than it is to be like, oh, cool, you're gonna die in 3 months. Like, all right, well, what do you want to do for 3 months? Versus like, oh shit, it's coming. I love you. How can I help?
Right.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's easier in some ways. But then again, that's being the selfish Doug version of it. If I were to die, I'd actually like a little time.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to write some letters, make sure stuff's squared away.
Yeah.
But then again, too, I wouldn't want to see my loved ones. Nope, I take that back. I'd rather die quickly. I don't want anyone I care about to
go through
watch me. Because having had injuries, and I used to talk to my mom about this a lot, because she had 3 massive spinal cord on tetherings where they open up your spinal cord, like the actual cord, like open up the bone. And her and I would talk about how after a certain point, dealing with the pain is easier than dealing with a loved one dealing with the pain.
Right.
Because you're in the seat.
Yeah.
There's no speculation
Right.
of the severity, of the intensity, of what it does to your psyche, your demeanor, your state. There's no, you're in the car.
Right.
But being the loved one watching it, I think is harder. And she and I would always talk about that, and she felt the same way. It is harder. Pain, not that pain is easy by any measure of the imagination, but after a certain amount of pain, it is harder to be the one watching it.
Right.
I think.
Right. I would agree. I mean, the other side of that is that you don't have to deal with the fallout. Like, if you're the person who's on their way out, then there's a certain level of pain, certain level of discomfort, certain level of psychological angst, and then boom, and then you transition, and without going into the nebulous black hole discussion of what happens after death, we all have a pretty good idea around the seats of this table that you don't quit.
Yeah.
That you have consciousness, and so it's got to be easier for the person who then goes halfway through it and says, "Oh, wait, everything's not over," and oh my God, now I'm not limited by this human body, and I get to go back and do the things that I was doing before I was a human.
What helps too is that my mom was of the same belief too. Like, she read the book. It's the book that chronicles 1,500 people's near-death experiences.
Yeah.
She read that. I mean, she was always more religious, but her and I had an overlapping belief that this existence is just a piece of the whole.
Yeah.
It's not the whole.
Right.
And that gives me comfort too, knowing that she died with that belief.
To ease her into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it for an easier transition, right? And so, for the people who are left behind, it's tougher.
Oh, if I had to watch an atheist die, it would be way harder. Because I'd be like, oh my God, you think there's nothing else? That's got to be the scariest thing ever.
Right.
That's got to be so scary.
Yeah.
That you're just going to not be. That's it.
Yeah.
That your energy doesn't go to something else, that there's nothing more, that life is just fucking random shit, and now you're in pain.
Right.
Sorry, that sucks.
Yeah. Sucks,
you know what I mean?
Sucks to be you. I'm really glad for what you're about to learn, by the way.
And I'm not knocking on atheists. I'm just saying.
Right, yeah. But
empirically, I think it has to be a little scarier.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think it has to be scarier.
Sure. Because, I mean, the definition of fear is the sense of self having perception that the sense of self itself is about to take a devaluation. And so anytime that you're in fear as a human being, there is a thought or a perception within your mind that something that you define as your sense of self, be it your job or the people around you, your kids, your family and friends, the money situation, whatever it is that you're attached to, including your body, like if you're about to die is what we're talking about, you have a big old portion of your sense of self that is your idea of your body, and there's a place in your brain that maps that. Fear is the result of a pending devaluation on one of those things. And so when you're sitting there and you're about to take an ultimate devaluation and you've got nothing else, I mean, that's a huge devaluation. If you've got the open door of possibility in your mind that, this might be a step up, or this might be me transitioning to the next phase of consciousness or existence or whatever, then there's less of a stressor.
I think, not to be too tangential, but I think about atheists quite a bit.
Okay.
For no other reason than just trying to objectively think about how people construct, what framework or constructs do people have. And I think people, I'll say this, I think people who are atheists are aiming small.
Yeah.
I think they aim small. I think they're like, oh, here's my box. This is life. I'm good.
Yeah.
I think that's just aiming small.
Yeah.
I think to always think on that threshold of, oh, there's so much shit that I will never know.
Yep.
Let me see how much I can thread out and tease out and maybe gain some knowledge.
Yeah.
I that's how I view it. Maybe that's not the right framework, but I think they aim small.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I don't want to cast any aspersions on folks who haven't glommed on it, because I agree. I'll say this about atheism. They are completely correct that all religions have it wrong.
What do I think when you say they have it wrong? What do you think when you say they have it wrong? Or what does Neil think, right? Those could be universes apart.
Right.
I tend to think my knee-jerk thought is they have it wrong in the sense that nature is not intelligent. That's where I go.
Okay.
Where do you go?
I go in that religion has it wrong regarding their quantification
okay.
of God, what God is,
yes.
Of
this is a good
the
topic.
ideas of what should be done to be thankful for our existence here. The fact that they do make delineations of us and them, of us and other,
which had utility at some point in our evolution.
It did. I'm granting you that. I'm granting you that religion is the system for which it helps push man or groups of men or group of humans. I'm using the men in editorial. I know it pushes men and men only, because men can only be the leaders of the church.
Even though males don't produce life. Like,
what is this, Christianity?
It pushes people towards a closer relationship to God from the limited perspective of a human mind. So I give it that as a benefit to humankind. But it doesn't give you the full picture. It doesn't give you the accurate picture. And realistically, in my perspective, my opinion, religion takes you off the path of God and away from the teachings of Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or Krishna or whatever religious godhead you espouse. It takes all of the, like, even one word. When you're using one word, they say the Bible is the word of God, right? When you use even one word to try to explain God or God's intentions or the reality of the universe or anything like that, at the point that you use even one word, you are racing away from the truth at light speed. And so the more words you pile on, you're accelerating away from the truth beyond light speed, just like the...
and I think to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're trying to say is there are things that we are intrinsically incapable of articulating with words on paper or through vibrations in the air. And that's a scientific thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can, I've been reading physics and philosophy with Heisenberg, so I've just been going deeper down this framework of viewing the world. It's an empirical thing. This isn't a woo-woo like, oh no, you can't put words to it. It is, no, there are literal things that the human language is barely capable of grasping a concept of.
Yes.
So to think you can actually articulate something to its fullest, anything to its fullest with words is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you try to take, like, and that's true of any experiential knowledge, right? If I try to explain to you, if you've never sat in a hot tub, for instance, and I try to explain to you what it feels like
to let the pee out when the water gets warm.
Yeah, totally. You got to wait. And like, if I tried to explain to you what it felt like for bubbles, or I tried to explain to you the concept of warm or wet or whatever, it would take me an infinitude of analogies and explanations to try to even get you close, and you'd still never be there until the moment that you actually jumped into a hot tub, experienced the warm, the wet, the bubbles, the swirling, all of that stuff that I wasn't able to explain, and now you have instant understanding. There is no separation and no replacement for the simple experience of the thing that you're talking about. And when you're talking about spirituality, you're talking about consciousness expansion, you're talking about reaching out beyond the body into the non-local conscious space where intelligence exists and where consciousness is all one. Experiencing that for yourself and getting through that for yourself is what it's all about. And so I think, going back to the original question, I think that's what religions have wrong, is that they try to give you a bunch of answers where answers don't necessarily exist from...
But I think if you were to just have a time machine and travel to a time where, let's just make up this scenario. Science doesn't exist. No empirical science exists. It's not even a thing in our realm of concepts.
Right.
Now go ahead and describe everything in the material world and tie it to morals. It's like you get religion.
Right. Right. You have to create that link.
Yeah. And
because there isn't one besides the fact that we're uncovering it now. It's like the same question of how do dumb atoms then take action to become organic molecules. And then the organic molecules come together to create one cell organisms and then start taking pro-life actions. There isn't a way to explain why that happens except for non-local consciousness when we add it into quantum mechanics. Which explains a lot of stuff. It explains double slit experiments. It explains absolutely everything.
I think that is
what.
Again, this is like I've really been thinking heavily about how we construct our views and how we construct our understandings and how we construct. So it's like, okay, the human body is like 4 atoms: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Like that's pretty much it. Literally everything that is this pile of bullshit in front of you is those 4 atoms. In fact, you said, why do those 4 atoms come together and actually cooperate to make this thing that can like do something productive or like mean or helpful or whatever? And we go, oh, non-local consciousness, right? If knowledge is this, like, if the self is your perspective, right? And knowledge is the landscape. You're traveling across the landscape. You might be able to see a hill point. Let's call that non-local consciousness. Be like, oh, that's where this river is coming from. But there's 10 miles of river that you haven't traveled. You have no fucking clue what's in this valley.
Right.
But you do know that it's because of this non-local consciousness called the mountain.
Yeah.
And I think maybe constructing that is a useful depiction of our understanding and lack of understanding.
Right.
How can we understand that this causes this, but not know the details of all of this stream or river? Right?
Yeah.
It's possible. That's how we work.
Yeah, but then at the point that we have the theory of what's between point A and B, or that we know where our destination kind of may be, we can start to measure the things in between, and we start to figure out how to get from point A to point B safely, right? And that's exactly what we're talking about, is putting together some type of, putting together a brand new addition to quantum mechanics, which, by the way, Einstein was in favor of, Dirac was in favor of. A lot of the fathers of quantum mechanics says, quantum mechanics is great, but it's not complete.
Yeah.
And
that's like Heisenberg's book that I'm reading.
Heisenberg is one of the proponents of that.
Yeah, he's like, hey, we need to stop using our existing language to try something that doesn't fit into our existing language.
Right.
And I thought I understood that until I read his book, and I'm like, oh my god, we don't know fucking shit. It's like once a month I have a moment where I really do. I swear to God, where I'm like, oh my god, like as a species, it's like, wow, we don't know fucking shit, do we?
Yeah. Exactly. and what's amazing is that we're on our way and we're finding our way, which is really cool. All right, so let's move on. My 2020.
That's cool. So next topic.
So next topic. No, I just don't want to go off the rails here, because we want to.
No, I'm glad you can steer the track back on the fucking course.
Because there's one thing. Because we do want to talk about something that happened in 2020 about our feedback regarding our Eddie Gallagher episode. So we'll hold that off to the end of the episode, but there are some other things that I want to talk about, and one of the things in 2020 that happened to me, what I thought was kind of funny that I wanted to share, is that I got thrown off my son's soccer field, which was on my bucket list of things to do. Not really, but
now it is. Now it's checked.
Yeah, so I added it. So I was like, oh, I'm getting thrown off my son's soccer field. Let me add this to my bucket list so I can check it off right now, and then I got a win on my bucket list. So that was fun.
So how'd you get kicked off?
Well, there was.
Did you run on the field and just kick a goal?
So no. So Neil was talking. We were talking previous to the show about the Browns losing their playoff bid, and because of a bad call.
Oh my God! Don't remind me, please.
And so the refs made a bad call in that football game, but they also made a bad call in my son's soccer game, and it cost him a goal. And they're competitive. And so, the parents like to see him win, so the parents get wrapped up in the game a little bit too much. And the parents were arguing down the sideline with this field ref who was right in front of me. And then he started getting like really sassy and dropping curse words and stuff like that. And then he threatened to throw some parents off the field. And they said, "For what?" And he goes, "For your dissent." And I don't know what it was about that word.
Yeah, well, it's like he's a king up on high.
Yeah.
For your dissent, peasants. How dare you look upon me?
And I then at that point, after being silent for such a long time, listening to all of this banter go back and forth, I simply made the common sense statement of, or the observation that, look, if you don't want to get shit for, and I didn't say get shit, I didn't curse or anything. I said, if you don't want to get grief for a bad call, then you probably shouldn't put on the yellow uniform.
It's like fair.
Ref's uniform, right? And so then the main ref was walking over because he heard all the chatter for like the last...
You weren't screaming this. You were
20,
like,
30.
hey.
No, I was almost even
buddy.
just saying it to my wife and not even saying it to him.
Yeah.
But because my mouth was moving, the ref, the central ref who's in charge of the game, who holds the whistle, which is why I relented, because he holds the whistle. And he starts the game again. And if he doesn't blow that whistle, the game doesn't start. He came over and threw me out. He's like, "You, out." And so... I was like...
Did you look behind you and be like...
No, he was walking, like he was really aggressive. He was walking towards me and holding his hand out with his finger pointing at me, like, "You, this guy right here, you." Just because he saw my mouth moving at the end of this conversation with this ref. So I was the instigator, I guess. And so he threw me off, and I grabbed my chair and I walked off, and I stopped at the edge of the fence.
You threw your chair back.
No, but he goes, "To your car." And I was like...
You're just like a child being scolded.
Fuck you.
I said sit in the corner.
Turn around. I don't want to see your face.
It's like when I yell at my dog to go lay down, and he lays down like real close. I'm like, "No," and he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
So here's the beautiful thing: the van that we drive, the minivan to the soccer games, was parked and backed up right behind the goal for the game. So I went over to the van. I opened the rear tailgate of the van right behind the fucking goal. I threw my chair in. I put my ass down on the van. My feet were up off of the...
You're 100% in the van.
Yeah, I was 100% in the van.
I bet he saw that too.
He did see it. He was watching me the whole time.
But I bet he noted that you picked your feet up off the ground.
He did. He looked at it, and I almost said, "Your move, Cupcake."
You should have just pointed to your feet.
And so he looked at me, and he looked a little dejected. He was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, he probably realized he was being a little ridiculous.
And he realized that he was going to lose. Like, what is he going to tell me as an adult
to
human
go
being
drive away or
sit in my car?
Yeah, and look away.
And right, exactly. I don't want to see your face.
Divert your eyes.
Sit in the driver's seat. Cross your legs.
So he continued the game, and we lost, and it was a tight one. We could have won. But I got to see it just as well as I did from the sideline because I was just as close to the field.
The whole reffing thing's always been interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't watch like sports at all. Like, at all. I'll watch the shit out of the Olympics, but that is it. Like, so you watch a lot of football, right, Neil? So
I watch a lot of Browns football.
Okay, so let me like put this proposition.
Let
me put this proposition out there, and let me know what you think as like a somewhat more avid sports watcher. It's like, until we have a better way to call games, till there's an AI with 30 different cameras that covers every possible angle and inch, real time on any field. Let's take football, right? Until we have that, the best thing we have is ref, which you can't play a game without some mechanism refereeing the game, right? I ate a bunch of peanut butter this morning.
Refereeing.
I was trying to blow right through that. You guys fucking. I knew I fucked it up a second time, and I was trying to blow right through that because I didn't want to try a third time because I knew I would mess it up again.
Do you know where we're at?
Yeah, I do.
You're not getting through this easy.
No, I'm not. I appreciate that though. So, a ref is an intrinsic part of the game. It has to be, right?
Yeah.
Again, like the caveat, until we have a better way, until we have an AI that can literally do it to the point where no dumb human can be like, "Oh, that was a good call," right? A ref is a part of the game, which means bad calls and good calls are part of the game.
Yeah.
So I've never understood being upset with something that is intrinsic to the thing you enjoy itself.
Here's where I'll help you out a little bit.
Yeah, please.
So refereeing is important, and there's going to be mistakes as humans. It's human error, right?
Right.
So The problem is that they have rules, especially in the NFL, what's reviewable over instant replay and what's not reviewable over instant replay. You're talking about AI and everything like that. Well, if you're seeing it from a camera, clear as day, how are you going to look at the penalty or the foul or whatever and say...
Can you review anytime?
Are you up against your mute button?
No.
Okay.
Check. There we go.
Sometimes I need my mute button accidentally.
Am I on now?
In the middle of my speaking.
I wonder. Oh, my arm is hitting it. When I go like this. No, you can't hear me. I go like this and you can hear me, but if I do,
it's your chair.
Oh, the arm of your chair. Nice.
That's funny.
Nice.
So, I mean, I've watched some games. I get that they can do the. I don't want to look like a complete fucking dumbass. I did it again. I don't want to be a complete dumbass here, but obviously, if you could, maybe this is good that I'm a child asking this. To me, it's like, they review everything, right? But then the game would never fucking happen, right?
Right. It would take too long. But it's like, so the problem, okay, I'll get into it since we're down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, I'm genuinely curious.
Okay, so the Browns and Chiefs played last night, and it came down to the end of the first half. The Browns player was diving across the goal line, and he got hit, and then dropped the football. The football went past the goal line.
So he got hit in midair? Like, I knew a little bit.
Yeah, as he's diving.
Okay.
So he got hit.
He used to play football.
All right, so
like, I understand enough.
You don't have to understand the rules to hit people, okay?
Yes, actually, that's a good point.
No, so he was diving across. Now, the NFL came out with a rule saying there's no helmet-to-helmet contact. So if you...
Can I ask a caveat question, though? Because the rule is, like, if the guy is in the air holding the ball and he travels over the corner marker, it's a
touchdown, right?
It's a score.
If he's 2 inches before that white line and he lets go of possession of the ball, it's considered a fumble.
What if he's midair and he's
midair? Same thing. The ball has to cross that threshold of the goal line.
Okay, so these are the nuances that I'm glad. Yeah, these are the nuances that I get lost on. So if he's diving over it, as long as he gets 2 inches past holding it, and let's just say he's still midair, he can be like.
Yeah, you could drop it after it, as long as he crosses that plane. So imagine like an invisible fence right there. As long as he crosses that plane, he's good. But this happened right before it. Now, the problem isn't with him dropping the football and where it was dropped at. The problem is the NFL's rule of helmet-to-helmet contact is if you're a defender, you lower your helmet, you lower the crown of your helmet down, and then initiate contact with your helmet to another player's helmet. That's a penalty right there. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? That happened. But the ref was worried more about, did the ball cross the threshold? Did he drop the ball? And this is the human error part of it, right?
Right.
Understandable, 100% understandable that the ref could miss a call like that. However, the problem I have is that you can review that where the ball is on instant replay, but you're not going to allow the penalty to be reviewed.
That's a little foobar.
Yeah.
Why would they not allow it?
They just said that that's not a reviewable call.
Oh,
and that's
because
the
they're
issue.
taking a strong stance on that.
Right.
Okay.
And that fucked the Browns from the win, because that changed the momentum of the game. Everybody was pissed about that, and then it was a catch-up game after that, the whole second half.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to say, all right, I'm not going to be that guy and say it was all because of a call. The Browns played shit defense, and they could have played a little bit better, and they could have won the game. They could have had a couple drop passes from Chubb. It's all right, dude. You all went farther than we ever expected you to this season. Browns, I love you. We'll be back next season.
Well, I was really concerned that we were going to have a producer that wouldn't cut his hair or shave, because that was Neil's dedication to the Browns, that he was not going to shave or cut his hair until they made the playoffs. And it was shaky there for a second.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And he was looking like Grizzly Man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And now he's got a haircut because they made the playoffs. Oh, I'm glad to see that.
So I feel like people are too readily or too quickly to dismiss a ref call when it's against their favor.
Yeah, it's a go-to.
Yeah.
I get it, though. Maybe it's one of those things where it's just like, no, I'm going to go against it because it's more fun to get worked up.
Well, here was my position and why I was upset by the call on the soccer field that was wrong and incorrect and cost him the goal. Because I had seen...
Did you guys review it?
How, we went up on the scoreboard and it was clear as day, and the whole fucking stadium went nuts. No, because, I mean, you've seen your kids play hard and try to get to a higher level. And if you're in rec sports, like if you're a rec hockey dad, and you're yelling at the refs when there's nothing really on the line and yada, 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 great. Knock yourself out. Be an idiot. You're being kind of silly. And I'm not to try to excuse the behavior of arguing with refs or whatever, but when you've been there watching your kids try to become better at the game and take it seriously, and they're put in teams that are competing at a higher level, it's difficult to see that taken away. You know what I'm saying? When they've done the work, they've done the hard work, they're doing well, and they're building their teamwork and working their plays and their ball handling capabilities, yada yada yada, and then they're beating the other team, or they're stepping up against a tougher team. And then all of a sudden the ref comes in and makes himself part of the game with a horrible call that shifts the momentum and causes a score.
Maybe you need to start the next important game by just giving the refs some warm coffee. Hey, guys, I know you have a thankless job, but here's some coffee. Hey, that's my kid, by the way.
Yeah. Keep it fair.
By the way, you have LSD in the coffee, so enjoy the game.
Have fun this one.
They start playing. Sorry, I got really sidetracked there. No, it makes sense the way you explain it too, especially if it's something that is a really bad call and it's your kids have been working all season and that ends the season like that. That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the last game.
Yeah.
And they were playing a really tough regional team. I mean, we've got to travel all over the place to try to find other teams who can at least try to step up and beat these kids. Yeah, you'll probably
beat the shit out of them.
Put them in the dirt.
You got to use your feet in this one.
Yeah, I used to play soccer too. I think I know soccer better than I do football. But the rules though with NFL though, like the nuance, like it's like, okay, well he was in the air and he had a good hit in the air. It wasn't a head-to-head contact, and it wasn't 2 inches past, so therefore it wasn't touchdown. But if it was a head-to-head and knocked the ball out, it's a touchdown still, right?
No.
See.
No, so the problem is that when the ball went out, it went through the end zone after he dropped it, and it rolled out the side of the end zone.
He wasn't crossing the threshold mid-air.
Yeah, but that fumble turned it into the Chiefs' ball on the 20, which turned the momentum of the game.
Okay, I see that a little clearer.
Yeah, it's not a touchdown or not touchdown, but if the penalty was called, it would still be the Browns' ball.
Was it pretty obvious head-to-head?
Yeah, 100% obvious. I mean, Helen Keller could have called that better.
Yeah. That sucks then.
Don't make any assumptions about Helen Keller.
Fuck those refs.
No, she's amazing. That's all I'm saying. She is amazing. Those refs need to learn something. Borrow her glasses.
He wasn't disparaging on the unlikely capable. He was saying that her capabilities would have been enough
far
to make that call clear.
The refs' capabilities during that game.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I used to follow football a lot more than I do now. I used to watch NFL when I was a kid, and then when I went to college, I started appreciating college ball and that there were less professional players. They made a lot more mistakes. It was a lot more interesting to watch. Certain weeks they would be up a lot more or down a lot more than a pro team would. And then I rode the Florida State wave for about 14 years when they were top four because I went there and loved being in the top four for 14 years in a row, and then they lost Bobby Bowden and went to shit. So I quit watching college football.
Disgusting.
So there you go.
I just can't get into watching sports.
So Ben, how was your 2020? Yeah, we're sorry that Ben's not here today. He's dealing with a little bit of the COVID down in Atlanta. Possibly, he hasn't been tested, but there's some symptoms going on, and he didn't want to come up. But he had an interesting year. I'm sorry that he's not here because there was a ton of stuff that happened in Atlanta that he was witness to. That a lot of the protests and whatnot, people on horseback creating posses and water boys trying to sell water and then robbing you afterwards, and the police. Resigned in record numbers and left the Atlanta Police Department without proper police force. Yeah, it was crazy. He's got a bunch of stuff that he can tell us about that, but I guess we'll just wait until he comes back. One of the things we should talk about, though, is the feedback that we got on the Eddie Gallagher episode.
Yeah, I don't think people like that, or
it's probably the most contentious episode that we've done.
I have not read any of that.
Okay.
Right. So that's why I'm saying that because I wanted to say my understanding of it is I thought our perspective was we weren't there.
Yep.
No one other than someone who is at all sites, areas at all times can know exactly what happened. With that being said, going on a smear campaign didn't seem like the most conducive way to sell one's innocence.
Yeah, and so understand.
I think that was our only point.
It was our only point, and we probably we brought out the potential for shades of gray of truths, portions of truth from both sides coming in to create the big picture, which we were unsure that we were ever going to know.
And it's the literal fog of war, so it's like
and
unless you've been downrange, one, shut the fuck up. Two, shit's gray. Life's gray. If you don't think life is gray, just go to a third world fucking shithole. Like,
right.
Sorry, that's my only point. Is shit's gray.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, our episode was done after the Mic Drop podcast. I think it was where that happened, where Eddie came on for maybe a couple of hours, and I'm not sure. I think inordinate amount of time for that episode was spent with casting aspersions at people that you guys know.
So here's the thing, though, is I think, again, I haven't read any of the comments. I'm assuming there's some emotional outburst in it.
Yeah.
The thing is this. Eddie was one of my first phase instructors. Yeah. We loved him. He was a hard ass, which you fucking should be as a first phase instructor.
Yep.
We loved him. As far as I knew, he always had a great reputation.
Yeah.
The guys that were with him, I went through training with. Those guys, as far as I know, have a great reputation.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to pick a side?
Right. You don't.
How the fuck am I supposed to pick a side?
Right. Right.
So I think people might jump a little early.
That you were picking a side.
Yeah, no, I have no side. I think the right thing to do. It's like anything. If someone starts talking about like, hey, do you know how to make some?
Do you know how to officiate an NFL game?
Yeah, I'd be like, no, I don't fucking know that. I'm not gonna speak to that.
Right.
That's it.
And so a bunch of people are going to say, then why did you speak to it, asshole? Like,
I spoke about the peripherals. I spoke about the constructs or views. I didn't speak about definitive verdicts or judgments.
Right. Or what happened.
Actually, the only thing we did observe was the smearing campaign.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did speak to that. Now, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think we have to really defend ourselves.
Before all that, I thought all the dudes in it were good dudes.
Yeah.
As far as my understanding of reputations.
Yeah.
So that's...
Now, something that happened between then and now is...
I still think they're all good dudes, if we're being honest.
Yeah, okay. Now, something that happened between us doing that episode and now is that Eddie Gallagher appeared on Sean Ryan's Vigilance Elite podcast and did 5 hours and had his son on, had his wife on. Were you able to watch that at all?
I watched a little bit, but...
I watched the whole thing because I wanted to make sure that we were getting if there's more of a story to be had, that we were getting it, or that I was getting it, so we could talk about it and be clear, etc. And I thought Sean Ryan did an amazing fucking job with that interview. And to Sean Ryan, I would like to say, give me a camera. To Sean Ryan, I would like to say this from the bottom of my heart. Fuck you for making such an amazing looking podcast and making everybody else look fucking like amateur hour. No, it's thank you for the interview on that, because have you seen that thing? That Vigilance Elite is fucking amazing. I don't know what gear they're using. They look outstanding. And he always puts together an amazing show, an amazing interview, and has a good time. I thought that interview with Eddie Gallagher was awesome. And I thought that brought out really the hidden description or the hidden understanding of what's really going on here. And that is that there was probably a rift between he and some other guys who NCIS got a hold of, and then they manipulated the witnesses because they never really testified at the trial. So it's like, I'm not sure they were bought in on all the shit that NCIS was trying to do.
And that's what I gathered. I read like every article that was out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like literally every news outlet that would put an article about it, I pretty much read, because I wanted to understand the best I could.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I gathered.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they got away.
Yeah.
As far as the public eye is concerned.
Yeah.
And like, to me, the smear campaign should have been against them. But I get the direction, though, because shit should be handled in-house, especially within the teams. But that being said, the fuck NCIS.
Fuck them. Yeah. They should go to jail, as far as I'm concerned.
My fucking first platoon chief, which we need to have an episode on, and I need to try to get him on, Keith Berry went to jail for 3 fucking years.
Because of NCIS? Wow. Yeah. And for something that
he got cleared of it all. He got completely cleared, and he got honorable discharge and got his rank back. It's fucking horseshit.
And so they railroaded him. He's a real life story.
Oh, they fucking love fucking burning seals. I don't care. Like, I'm out so I can shit on them, but I had seen that over and over and over. NCIS loves burning seals.
That's fucked up.
I'm sure. I know they've saved a couple. I'm sorry, but the witch hunts I've seen are fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
You don't get saved by doing one good thing and burning a bunch of other people. Like,
yeah.
So that's what I've seen.
Yeah. And so I think, my personal position being just a Navy veteran, not a SEAL, I believe Eddie in his story. I believe that NCIS fucked up. I believe they intentionally fucked up. I think they tried to do some nefarious shit that should wind them up in the brig. I'd back them up in a bar fight. As far as I'm concerned, like I'm not somebody who would go.
I wouldn't fucking step up to him in a bar fight.
No, I wouldn't. No. He'd fucking lay me out with one swing. But I'd back him up. As much as I will hold to my criticisms that I made in the last show, and that I made a comment, and he did too, so he admits to it, that he's uncertain about his leadership style in a certain number of moments, of whether he should handle things a little bit differently, which is the things that I pointed out, which I agree with him on. So I got zero issues. I won't change my story on those small criticisms, but I will change my story that I believe him a lot more than I did, and I do think that NCIS could have easily manipulated those witnesses, which can then explain how they're all good guys, or most of them are good guys, or maybe one guy got stuck in a really bad place and thought he had to do this or that to back up the story or whatever, because I understand there's one guy who's like kind of making stuff up, which can occur. You get down that path
what I gathered from the articles is that person or persons was actually not someone I knew. Actually, it was like the one person I didn't know in this situation.
Okay,
which was interesting.
So you don't know if he's a dirtbag or not.
I'm not gonna say names at this point, but
right,
most everyone in that situation I knew personally.
Yeah,
except for, I guess if this were an actual literary story, he would be labeled as the protagonist, right? Or antagonist.
Antagonist.
Thank you. Sorry, antagonist.
Yeah, the protagonist.
Eddie would be the protagonist.
Yeah, Eddie would be the protagonist, and the antagonist would be the evil guy who gets it in the end.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but just the person that starts the thing.
Yeah. Who starts
that person I didn't know.
Who starts the conflict? Okay, so
from Adam.
Yeah, so that's our update on Eddie Gallagher. We still would love to have him on the show.
Yes.
Although at this point, I'm uncertain what angle we'd take, because he laid his story out so well with Sean
I'd actually
Ryan.
rather not. If Eddie, if you ever come on, like I don't really care to talk about that situation too much. Maybe air whatever you want to air, but like there's so many cooler things to talk about.
There are.
You know what I mean? The guy did 20 years or 18 years, whatever. Or was it 22? Anyways, either way, there's cooler things to talk about.
Yeah.
That's why you should come on.
I think so too. Yeah. Because one of the things that I agree with, and the other thing that I'll flip on is I was unsure whether or not Donald Trump should have gotten involved with that whole situation, but now I see in hindsight what the fuck was going on. I'm so glad that he got involved. The whole thing should have never happened. Should have been handled in-house in the SEALs without NCIS interference. A lot of fuck ups.
And that area is great to me, how it went from internal to external. That's I've read every fucking article out there, and I still cannot confidently grasp how that went from an internal issue to an external.
You might be missing the moment where somebody who wanted to nail SEALs was like, "Oh, there's a SEAL in question?
Yeah.
Let's get on this."
Yeah.
Fuckers. So anyway, if there were any inconsistencies or uncertainties about our position previously, it was because we just didn't have a ton of information on what was going on, and we were just pointing out that there are shades of gray in everything. And now that more information is coming out, we're clarifying our position a little bit.
Yeah. Also, if you have an emotional outburst, post it in comments. Maybe slow down and ask questions. Like if there isn't a group of people that are willing to sincerely, intellectually entertain questions, it's this group.
Yeah.
Actual inquiries.
Some of the stuff was funny. It was like I was calling you guys trophies, like participation trophy seals and shit like that. And it was calling you guys pussies, and it was old school versus new school seals, East Coast versus West Coast. Some of it said, but Yeah, it was funny how people glommed onto one position and then immediately made you guys.
That's
the
because
enemy.
people are, in my opinion, people are so quick to be tribal without even knowing it.
Yeah,
It's
because
like,
to let you guys
here's my
know,
camp. Well, guess what? I'm in camp fucking no one. Always.
right?
Like I'm in camp human, but also on the higher order level, I'm in camp no one always.
Yeah, because and some of the aspersions were definitely unfair because they were saying, oh, these guys dropouts, and I was like, fuck you. You guys don't know the story. Like Doug has a history of being an exemplar sailor, but at the same time,
the thing is that the information reputations aren't that hard to find. So it's
but here's the thing: your actions. You are
go find it.
You are a highly decorated Navy SEAL whose actions in doing. You got tapped for solo work, which is super rare. It's like, I fucking trust you with the reputation of the United States government out in the field on your own, making your own decisions, running your own op.
Yeah.
I mean, you were sent for solo work, and the work you fucking did, like fucking Jason Bourne wound up on the president's fucking daily intelligence briefing multiple times because you're such a fucking badass working solo out in the middle of the fucking African plains.
It was a team. It was small. It was like
you were
four
working
of
with
us.
other folks, but they weren't
But
SEALs.
I was going out by myself in that regard. I was, and we did end up on a handful of morning briefings.
Yeah,
Which is weird that we actually got told that.
and you guys
Usually that doesn't happen.
yeah, usually don't find out.
Usually people don't come back and be like, hey, thanks for that info. We briefed for the president. It's like, whoa, did they just fucking tell us that? then we're like, oh shit, we need to be like serious from now on.
No more dick pics in there.
I mean, because that's how intel works. Is it's usually a black hole. Is you feed the black hole, right?
Yeah,
And
you never get
rarely
it back.
someone comes back and is like, good work, buddy.
right.
Like that's never like this guy I was working with. Not to go too tangential. I'd been doing it a lot longer than I had, and he literally pulled me in the office one day with no one around. I was like, dude, I've literally never gotten this. He goes, come here. He sat me down and looked at his email, and I was like, he's like, I need to tell you this. He goes, this is not normal. That's when I was like, oh.
So the email back to you guys saying, hey, thanks for the info.
Thanks. This is where the info went, and this is who read it.
The president read it.
Yeah, I was like, well, why are they telling us that? He goes like, that's a good question.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways.
So you got some commendations and stuff and write-ups and whatnot for that kind of stuff, I'm guessing? Yeah. All right. So we don't talk about the awards.
Yeah.
And Ben on the other side of the fence, even though he's got a little alien blow-up doll in his chair today and he's out today, that motherfucker was a good operator. And here's how I see it.
Let's talk about Ben while he's out.
Yeah, talk about him while he's out. No, but I mean, he was separated. He was separated from the Navy for basically drugs. But here's, all the fucking Navy SEALs are now discovering entheogens and psilocybin and cannabis and how helpful they are to the traumatic brain injury recovery that they are now forced to deal with, and the psychological stress of being in America after being in, foreign war combat zones, that type of thing. I mean, there's, PTSD that you have to deal with. There's traumatic brain injury that you have to deal with. There's depressive issues that you have to deal with. There's a lot of stuff that you wind up flying to Mexico to do ayahuasca or ibogaine, or, like Eddie even did that and did 5-MeO-DMT that he admitted on Sean Ryan's podcast. Ben just discovered that stuff while he was in the SEALs. And by the way, he was super clean before. He'd never tried anything before going into the SEALs, and then just started experimenting with consciousness expansion, entheogens inside the SEALs. And the SEALs are like, no, time to go. And now all the other SEALs are doing that once they get out. He just discovered it a little early and discovered the benefits a little early, and so is separated. And so that would be the only way that you could cast aspersions at him. But fuck you, he's an amazing human being. He's helping people get over their shit right now and post-combat traumatic, PTSD and TBI and all that other stuff. He's helping people. And so, yeah, I mean, you could say, oh, he was thrown out of the military, but he got an honorable discharge. He got his trident. It's not like they threw him out and said, you're an asshat and everybody should hate you. It's like
There's plenty of people that lose their birds, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard some amazing, horrible stories about this stuff.
It's not overly hard to get your bird pulled.
Yeah. And he protected a lot of people on his way out, by the way.
Yeah, which is like, we obviously aren't going to blow, like, which a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. But fuck it.
Yeah.
But fuck it. I mean, he's got it. He should deserve credit for it at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Without giving any details or anything like that might cause ruffles of somebody's feathers, he deserves a lot of fucking credit that he's not getting.
Shocker. Things are usually more complex than they look.
Yeah. No shit.
It's like fucking everything. God.
So anyway, this is our first episode back. You can tell we're a fucking train wreck trying to get this new studio to work, etc. We love you guys. Hope things are well. Talk to you soon. See you next week. Peace.